social proof, successful business, testimonials, results. That's something that I do my research on based off of my failures that I've had in hiring other people.
What am I looking for? How do I want to show up? Do I want to provide quality or quantity? And if I do, how am I going to set myself apart if I really want to go for quality?
If you have a plumbing issue, would you rather go with the best company who's going to cost more, but you know 100% to your bone that it's going to fix your problem? Or do you want the cheapest option and you're crossing your fingers like, hope this works out?
Welcome back to the 1% podcast. I'm Vin.
I'm Shane.
And we are co-hosting. This is episode 3. And we want to talk about quality versus quantity. Now, we also have a new thing we're going to do where every episode we're going to start off by asking just a question to each other as to how did we strive to become 1% better in any way in our lives in the past week. And we're going to do this as an ongoing thing every week to give you guys a little bit of insights and also just continue to hold ourselves accountable to make sure that we are not stagnant in our lives, because striving to be 1% is not only a mentality, it's not only a standard you hold, it is a lifestyle that means that you know there's always something you can do. And it's not a bad thing. That's actually a great thing, because you're either growing or you're dying, or you're growing or you're standing still. And if you're standing still, you're also dying because life's passing you by. So Shane, why don't you start us off? You tell us, what is one thing you've done this week to work on getting higher into the 1% and improving yourself?
So I live that motto: if you're not growing, you're dying. Stagnancy is just a slow death. So yeah. I 100% agree. So I'm actually really excited. This week was great. I took yesterday off and I wanted to go clothes shopping and get a new type of look. I got a nice big mastermind that I'm going to next week. And then I'm also doing a TV show, which is good. I'm going to be a co-host on a TV show. So I wanted to elevate my image. So of course, the very first stop that I went to, which was the only stop that I went to, actually went to 2 locations, was Rolex. So I went to go to the Rolex dealership. This is not the one that I got. I ordered another one on there, which will come in a few weeks. So I'm excited about that. But I wanted to elevate my image. And I feel like being the 1%, a lot of people care about image. They will judge the cover before they get to the book. As mom always said, don't judge a book by its cover. When you're into the 1%, that is the very first thing that they go off of. And to be honest, it's what a lot of people go off of these days right now, is they look at you, they see the shoes, they see the outfit, they see the watch you're wearing, they see the car you're driving, and they judge you before they get to know you. Now, I personally believe that, it's not all about that. I also am a smart investor as well. So this watch, did I necessarily want to get it because it was a smart investment? No. Is it good resale value? Absolutely. But the main reason was to, look that part, is to, have that mindset and to fit into this 1%. Now, the best thing about it is owning your own business. A Rolex, believe it or not, is a write-off if it's used the right way, as a corporate gift to yourself. So it just so happened to have been a win-win situation. So I went there, I got a Rolex, and today I'm going to go look at a nice new suit and some new shoes and get ready for this TV show that's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. And get ready for this mastermind and get into the room with 1%ers and like-minded individuals.
Awesome. Well, I definitely love that. I've been wanting to go get a Rolex myself, waiting on it a little bit because I don't know which one I want. And also there are a few other things that are a little bit more pressing for me at the moment, because I'm not going to be around very cool people like you are. I would also argue 2 points on there, though, is that at least for 1 point is I don't know, as you get higher, I've actually seen people tend to be less judgmental. I think that it's just they have less desire to waste time, because everybody wants to have these conversations, right? When you look at people who are wildly successful, everyone wants to talk to them. Everyone wants to know how to be in with them. Everyone wants to find a way to make money with them. Everyone wants to be on their yacht or drive their supercar or be friends with them or go to the club and get on the table, etc. And I've come to believe that it's not so much ego, and I could be wrong, right? But I've come to believe it's not so much ego, more just like people want to have some social proof that you are who you say you are. Because I mean, even there's people out there that are renting a Lamborghini to go to an event. They're going to spend $600, $1,000 on the night to get the Lamborghini to pull up to a mastermind so that they could seem successful. But reality is they got nothing. And people that are in these 1% tend to be very careful because of the fact that they are aware 99% of people want to be around them, but they only want to be with the other 1%. So it's a lot easier to kind of signal those people out based on status. Now, there's also a time that I've seen where it starts to flip, where you become so successful that you could dress in a black t-shirt and jeans, wear no jewelry, and everyone still wants to be around you. But that's because they know who you are. They know your brand is so developed. Like if Tony Robbins, for instance, were to walk into a room and he was wearing a t-shirt and shorts and some raggedy sneakers, and he told you how to run your business, would you question him even at all?
So I agree with you, but we're talking about big names like Tony Robbins, right? Coming out there. So,
yeah. Well, that's on the further scale.
Right. Now, I actually don't disagree that renting a Lamborghini to go to a mastermind, I think that's a power move. If you're so confident that renting a Lamborghini is going to get you 1-2 more clients, absolutely do it. But I think if people don't know you, if you're behind the scenes, which I've always been behind the scenes, and building up your success, owning a Rolex and owning a nice Mercedes and pulling these things up, and you don't have that social proof and people don't know you. I mean, there are so many high-level executives that are behind the scenes. So I think having the Rolex and having these nice things and being the behind the scenes warriors, as they call them here, I think that's another way that people say, who is this guy? Yes. Let me talk to this guy. So if I go in there to set a certain standard that, I want to have more business and I want for people to, understand that not necessarily that I've made it, but I'm on the way. I want them to listen to me. Now, if they've never heard of me, and I go in there with a black t-shirt and, blue jeans on, if I have a great message, but you Google my name and I have 700 followers on Instagram and 600 followers on Facebook because I'm a family man and I keep to myself, which currently that's exactly what I have. Are people going to listen to me? Maybe, maybe not. But if I go in there with a $30,000 Rolex and a $180,000 car, I guarantee you more people will, okay, let's see what this guy's all about.
Right. And that's kind of to the point of having social proof. When people don't necessarily know who you are, they want to feel like they could actually talk to you. Like, this guy's legit. He's not just chasing me to get an opportunity, right? Because I think when we think about it too, and you look, it's a lot of people looking up with their hand too, right? It's not just looking up at the 1%. It's also like, hey, you're all the way up there. Can you help me? Like, if you could do something with me, if we could synergize, or you could bring me into a division in your business or whatever. they want the help, and a lot of people don't want to deal with that. It's also kind of annoying, right? Like, I've had people, I don't have a big Instagram following. I have like 6,600 followers, and I've had people with like 100 followers on their account who have maybe posted 2-3 times, message me and be like, hey, can you please shout me out? And I'm like, no, I'm not. First off, I'm not even going to answer you. Secondly, no, I'm not going to shout you out because, one, you don't have any social proof. Now, if you did 1,000 posts, I'd be like, maybe I'll shout you out, just because of the fact, and I have to like what you're posting too. I don't mind that people ask, but what I mind is that when you haven't put in any effort, any work, you haven't achieved any type of status, you haven't even tried to do it yourself, why do I want to take your hand and pull it up? Mm-hmm. And I believe that's a big part of the mentality of when you're stepping into these rooms of successful people. That's constantly what they deal with day in and day out. Can you help me? Can you do a kindness? Can you do this? Can you serve me in some way? And so many people don't have value to provide to them that it always becomes an unbalanced scale.
Mm-hmm.
That if they were to engage in all these relationships, it would be 99% of them doing something to improve somebody else's life. And maybe if even 1% of the time they get any value back. And we could argue, well, what about being a good person and just helping for the sake of helping? It's like, but that's time consuming, that's resource consuming, that's energy consuming. Don't these people have an entitlement to their own resources, energy, and time? And so we can't expect them to just give that super freely either. So I don't think there's anything wrong with playing the game of building social proof for how much you've achieved and learning to show people that you have certain standards and certain levels that you've achieved in your life just by the thing you're capable of having. Like, you're going to get a $30,000 Rolex. That's some people's half a year salary. That you're in a different ballpark, and the world could see it, and I think there's nothing wrong with that.
I think and talking about the 1%ers, and I feel like when you've, especially being a business owner and an entrepreneur, you can tell where people's mindset's at because you've dealt with those bullshitters your entire life. I mean, I still deal with them obviously this day, and it's never going to change. But when you deal with somebody who is a 1%er, it's how they carry themselves. It's how, they speak. It's their interaction with one another. I mean, I would say about 90% of the time, you can tell who is mentally successful based on just the conversations that you have. And I will hear everybody out, not based off of their social status or anything like that. But if they have goals in mind and they tell me that, hey, this is where I'm, getting to, and this is my, my path, and these are my milestones that I've accomplished in achieving this goal. I love these types of people. That is me in a nutshell. I still have, milestones that I personally want to hit. And just because I'm at a certain place compared to other people, that should motivate them to want it more. That's what drives me. I mean, I don't view others people's pockets as a form of, a milestone or a goal. It's more of how can I be the best person that I can be, for myself, for my family. I think that viewing other people's pockets and successes is going down a negative path because it's always going to be a comparison. It's the keeping up with the Joneses. But we're talking about image, right? And that's why I wanted to bring it back. Quality versus quantity as far as, the image is concerned. As far as life is concerned, quality versus quantity. But that's the main reason why I am getting another Rolex, why I'm getting another suit, because I want to be the highest quality person that I can be. And these things make me believe that I am. Yeah.
There's definitely something to be said for look good, feel good, like the way you look, like the way you feel in the body you're in, like the way you feel when you wear a certain thing.
Like a cologne commercial, right?
Maybe I think it was
Men's Warehouse.
A suit commercial. Men's Warehouse.
You're gonna
like the way you look.
I guarantee you.
and there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of research that shows when you feel confident in your own image, it elevates your confidence. You have better command of the room. I mean, realistically, right? That just makes sense. You go out, you don't have a haircut, you don't have a good sense of pride, you didn't shave, you're hoping nobody really sees you. And I think it's very interesting because even though we're hoping nobody we know sees us like that, why do we still go out like that?
Right.
And it says something.
And when you're dealing with the 1%, it's 100% of the time. You have to look good. You have to feel good. You have to control everything. Everything has to be on point 100% of the time because you're representing yourself. You're representing your brands. You're representing your business. You're representing your clients. You're representing your family. So having that mentality, and if you don't have that mentality, you need to switch, right? And once again, if you're not on, the level where you can buy a Rolex, it doesn't matter. If you're confident and you feel good about yourself and you feel that you can control the room and you're representing the best you that you can do, that's all that matters. these shiny things and the things that you drive, I feel that personally elevates me to the next level. Do I really care about them? Absolutely not. But I personally feel that it gets me to that next level, and that's why I do it.
I agree. And that's actually a great segue for quality versus quantity, because you don't need to have a ton to be quality. You don't need to drive a $200,000 car or have a $30,000 watch to show and convey massive quality. And I know you know that. That's not why you have those things, as we just recapped. And I think that people get confused in those areas, because it's like, well, how do I show I have quality if I don't have those things? And that always comes back, in my opinion, to a personal development question. And it could also be a business development question, right? Depending on which side we're going to talk about this. But I see quality people, and I don't think it's about what that person has. Right. In fact, I've come to learn money doesn't change people. It just enhances them. So if they're a crap quality person, they're going to be crappier and less quality because they have more to do crappy things with. Conversely, if they're a good quality person, they're going to have more to do good quality things with, to help people, to serve others. It's just an enhancer. So if money doesn't make the person, what does? And it comes right back to what I was saying, the character. And to your point as well, it's about, who are you as a person? Are you someone who's aligned? Are you someone who's living a value-driven life? Are you someone who's articulate? Are you someone who puts in the work, right? For instance, one of the things that I always love to bring up when people talk about taking their selves or their business to the next level is the whole conversation, which I think we talked about on the other podcast, like maybe the first episode, of how long does it take to become a master? And the answer is 10,000 hours in that one thing. But what they never add in there is how many hours how many years or time additionally, right? They don't say it's 10,000 hours and 10 years. They just say it's 10,000 hours. So you can produce high quality in a short amount of time just by being extremely dedicated to the thing that you want to do. So, I mean, even myself, I would consider myself a top quality coach. I would consider myself in the 1% of coaches, not only because of my income, but because of the knowledge and the results I get with people. So I base it off of some societal factors, right? However, I've also been able to do this by the time I was 30, where there are people out there who are 60, 70 in the field of mental health and doing way less than I am. Why? Well, the answer is very simple. I've dedicated myself 10,000 hours, my whole life, to focusing on how do people tick? How can I help them? What do I need to learn? How do I need to learn it? Then how do I learn to speak it to other people? How do I learn to teach it? How do I learn to help them apply it? And when you ask better quality questions, it makes you a better quality person, which then leads to better quality results for either yourself, your business, whatever. And I know you've done something similar with the VA group. You're probably in the top 1%, if not, for just income, but for quality of the service you provide.
When I ran my marketing agency, and this is when the marketing agency was a big boom, right, for digital marketers. And this was in 2010, 2011, around that realm is when it first started. And that's when you're just trying to figure it out. And all these gurus and coaches and masterminds, they come out and they train you and they teach you how to do this, but then you're thrown into it. So what we did wrong, me and my business partner at the time, is we took on a variety of different niches, right? We took on chiropractors and coaches and dentists and restaurants. And we thought that we can duplicate realtor results and dentist results with these different types of niches. And it never worked. And we finally learned from failure, and we stuck with one niche. We said, look, whatever we do wrong for this industry, which was Restaurant Secret Weapon here, which is kind of funny. Wasn't expecting to give my restaurant marketing company a shout out, which, by the way, is still active to this day with clients, which runs itself with virtual assistants, which is great. What I'm getting at is when you master one thing and you learn from your failures and your successes, and you duplicate and you replicate that, you will start to figure it out.
Yeah.
But when you're juggling 10, 5, 10, 20 different things, and you're wondering why it's not working. It's because you're not prioritizing your focus into one thing. And I think that's why you're so successful is your mindset was, I want to be the best. I can't call you just a business coach because you're a life coach and you help so many different people in a variety of ways, including myself. So I'm just going to say coach in general because Vin's title is just an overall revolving, amazing title. So let's just say amazing, excellent, superfluous coach. But you had your mindset and vision to become that, and you're learning from your failures to do that. And obviously the results speak for themselves. For the VA group, it was the exact same thing, employment. How can we provide the best employees, the best contractors for our clients and learn from failures? And over the years, I don't think there's a company out there from my research, and I know who my competitors are, that do what we do and how thorough we are. We have a very low 2.34% churn rate. And I personally think that we got there because of hard work, dedication, and focusing on employees versus customers.
Sure.
And when you have a happy employees, they will do endless things for you. And I think that's taken for granted these days.
So, all right, now it's my turn to shout you a little bit because I 100% agree. I've never seen a VA company like yours. Actually, before you and I met, and I think we might have talked about this, before you and I met, I was sourcing VAs and I was looking for them. And it was one of my friends who was helping me do it. I don't know how he does it, but he was finding these VAs and then setting up conversations on WhatsApp. And we had a conversation with this one VA who we found we were going to pay her, I think like $5 an hour or $7, something like that. And then I met you and you're like, just try one of my VAs. And I was like, all right, I'll try one of his VAs. And then I was like, okay, price is definitely more than $5 to $7 an hour. So I think what I'm going to do, and this is what I said to my friend, because I was like, let's try one of his VAs. It seems like a cool process. So I said, we'll try one of them for a month. Then we'll let them go most likely. And we'll go get this VA who we already met for $7 to $5 an hour. And her name was Juby. And we told her, hey, Juby, like, we're going to have to push your start date back about 45 days or so. Something came up. Like, we just wanted to buy some time, see what we could get out of the VA that you gave, and then go with the cheaper VA because we couldn't justify it. Went through the whole process. I had my friend come through the process with me. We were both on the calls as we were doing it. Met the VA, watched the process of the group unfold, continued with the weekly accountability and check-in calls, got the end of day reports, like all these amazing things that you have baked in. There was this one day, there was a storm in the Philippines. My VA checked into a hotel to make sure she could work because our home had no power. And I wound up telling my friend, I was like, all right, tell Juby she out and we're just going to stick with this and we're going to keep finding ways to make this work. And I don't care what this costs. And since then, I've referred everyone to you that needs a VA. I know one of my clients has signed up. I pushed another client. I don't know if they did. I had a third person who's asking me about it. I went over your website for 45 minutes with them. And that's realistically what you want when you have a service or product. You want people, like, I would say I'm probably a raving fan of the VA group because I've even met other people. I have a guy in my other company that I run who has a VA company. And he's been asking me for referrals. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if somebody has a $100 budget, sure, I'll send them to you. But anyone else, like, I'm sending straight to the VA group because the reality is you have a service, a product, and quality like nothing I've ever seen or experienced. And I think that is probably the biggest reason you are successful because I've come to learn that successful people don't care about cost so much as they care about value. To your point before of could you spend your investment on that Rolex better? Now, if a Rolex is an investment, you'll hold it, it will retain value. However, yeah, you might be able to get value out of that in another way. But that's what I see with the VA group. I see that it costs me more, but there's so much more value that the cost doesn't even justify why should I terminate services? Because it's a few dollars extra, that doesn't matter. You'll not find quality like this anywhere else. And that, I think, is what so many people fail to realize because they're so quick to be like, Oh, well, I could get it for $5. Go get it for $5. I tell people that when they ask me about coaching. It's
Me
like,
too.
why would I pay you thousands when I could go to a therapist and pay them $20? I'm like, that's fine. Go to your therapist, pay them $20. Do your copay, right? Have your insurance cover it. Pay $20. Go there 10, 15, 20 years, however long you want. You'll still have the same issues. You work with me in a few months. I guarantee if you put in the effort and the work, you won't have the issues anymore. So you determine how long you want to deal with your problem. How valuable is it to you to fix it? How valuable is the service if it could provide support for the issue, right? And these are the questions that people need to ask. And high quality 1% people ask those questions. The 99% don't, because they're just looking for how can I maximize and spend the least. But that's not always the case. I mean, sometimes it is, but usually it's not.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. And that's just the prime quality versus quantity right there. And breaking it down to simplistic terms, if you have a plumbing issue, would you rather go with the best company who's going to cost more, but 100% to your bone that it's going to fix your problem? Or do you want the cheapest option and you're crossing your fingers like, hope this works out? You're obviously going to go with the more expensive and you feel good about it and who has glowing reviews that this problem situation is going to get fixed. Quality versus quantity. And if you guys aren't at that level, you need to be. You need to start focusing on quality versus quantity. I'm going to shift this a little bit as well, is when you become and your mindset becomes quality over quantity, guess what? You can choose what clients you want to work with. And that's the best part about it, is you're now success driven versus financially driven. And if you have a client who is giving you headaches, who is asking for demands, who is being unreasonable, I'm out of here. Bye. I don't need you as a client, right? It's you get to be picky and choosy. And that's the best part about it. Your mindset is, I'm going to be the best. I only work with the best. That's it. No more headaches. You have to be able to have podcasts at 10 in the morning, drinking coffee and, with no issues in your mind and no concerning clients or anything like that. Quality needs to consume your life, not quantity.
I agree. There's one thing that I want to add from that. So and it's funny because sometimes quality could be misleading because branding and messaging is so good.
Agreed.
I took a speaking course. I don't want to name any names. I'm just going to keep things a little vague. I took a speaking course back in 2020 or 2021 when I started wanting to become a speaker. And this guy was one of my idols. I listened to his speeches in some of my darkest days, and his speaking is so amazing. And he's always uplifted my spirit. I mean, he was a part of when I was going through my darkest times of depression. He would sometimes be a light just with his voice. And that is also one of the deeper reasons I got into speaking. I want to give that to other people. And so you could see how quality people can also inspire you to do more. Now, he put out a speaking course, and I took his speaking course, and it wasn't very impressive. It was kind of lackluster. However, out of 600 people in this class, I was one of 20 people picked to be on a live summit that he streamed to his millions of followers. That was actually my first ever speaking engagement. And I was so ecstatic and so excited, but I didn't feel I learned a lot from this legend. I mean, this guy's a legend. He's been one of the world's top 10 speakers for like 20 plus years. And I felt great that I was picked. I just felt like I didn't learn too much. And so I've continued to work on my own speaking. I've continued to take courses. I've continued to sign up for groups and every opportunity I could get. I've been on hundreds of podcasts now, et cetera. And I keep going and growing. Recently, I invested in another speaking coach. This guy is also a celebrity coach. He's probably moving up there. He charges over $50,000 for one speech at this point. He is a well-known speaker and all these other great things he's doing. And we did similarly, we're starting off and I'm like, I don't know if I'm not really getting value out of this. But then he said, hey, he's like, you know what, guys, I want to serve. We're going to come on Saturday. We're going to do this thing. I want to give you some value. I want to teach you guys a few points. We're going to break down a keynote. I was like, oh, I'm interested. Now, silly me, I thought it was going to be an hour. I thought it was going to be from 12 to 1. So I was like, oh, That's fine. I moved some plans around. I was like, don't worry, I'll be done at 1. Like, we could do anything after the day. I told my girl to wait. I said, we'll hang out with Sage, my daughter, after she wakes up from her nap. It's now about 7 p.m.
It's always the case, right?
It's about 7 p.m. This man poured so much value into us. He broke down a keynote in ways that I have never experienced, to the point that if I never heard another thing this guy has to offer, and by the way, we have more that we're doing. If I didn't hear anything else, I would believe that I have gotten more than my money's worth. And the investment for this program was $6K. Now, I don't know if he had planned that from the start, but he's just said, I want to show up. I want to give you guys value. I want to give you guys as much as I can. I want you to leave here knowing everything about this keynote and how to break it down and how to answer and give these questions and tell the story and do it this way and that way. And to me, I've come to learn in my experiences that that is what valuable, high quality people do. They don't even always look to say, how can I translate this to a dollar amount? They just look to see, how can I pour into your life so much that the value is unquestionable? And I even do that with my clients. I have people who've signed up for 30-minute sessions. If you have a chance to have a conversation with them, ask them how many times we've had a 30-minute session. 0. It's like I gave them the reduced rate to do a 30-minute session, and I still work with them for an hour plus. Because it's if you really have that heart of service and you want to provide value, money just follows value, and money's just kind of this thing that it's like, it's important. It helps us and enhances life and livelihood, etc. But the bigger reality is that it's just an exchange. It's like, I want to give you this because I believe you have value to give me. And I want to show my gratitude by passing you my energy, my energetic exchange of here's this money for your energy, your time, your service, your whatever. And I've come to see that the more that you can deliver to people, the more valuable you become, the more money just follows, and the more you convey quality. Because there are a lot of coaches that will hold you to a 15, 30-minute time frame and hold you there and be like, all right, we're at 25 minutes. So listen, let's wrap up. We got 5 minutes to wrap up. I'll see we're coming up on some juicy stuff at 29 minutes. I'm like, great. I still have a half hour. I'm going to keep going with this person, if scheduling permits. I mean, I was on for an hour and a half with one of my clients who paid for 30-minute sessions. It's just, you got to just be value-minded, service-minded, and you will always get so much more than you thought because the world responds to value.
Money is 100% a tool. And I believe in everything that you're saying. However, I believe that some people are afraid of success. And
sure.
I'll give you a prime example here. When people sometimes think that it's too good to be true, that there is so much value, that their mindset shifts to, there's something wrong here. And it's crazy to think. I swear it really is. Like, there's like, what's the catch?
Right.
This is too good to be true. This value that I've just received is phenomenal. There's something fishy here, which is so weird to think, because I'm like you, and I feel like a lot of successful business owners, even 1%ers, are impulsive to things that make sense.
Yeah. But
for other people, and I've seen this day in and day out, especially, when my sales reps give presentations and I'll view the recordings, it's all, this sounds amazing. You guys have a really well structured company, very organized, great. But then they try to come up with ways of not to move forward. And it's the same way when you go to masterminds, and it's the same way when they talk to business coach or higher end tickets. This is what I need. This is the solution that I have that I'm missing from my criteria, but there's something here that's not right, even if there's not. And it's crazy that they come up with these types of ideas. Now, I wanted to address your first one here, because he was a very well-known speaker. I don't know who it was, but I have some names that are running through my mind. I do feel that a lot of people, and I'm not saying that this was the case, but this is kind of what I got from him because of the lack of knowledge that you had and not lack of value. which doesn't relate to, what I originally said.
Right.
A lot of people that like to wear masks. There's a lot of people that are amazing sales reps. There are a lot of people that say that it's going to be one thing and then you buy it and it's not. So when I see somebody that is preaching all the things that I like to hear, and they can back it up with social proof, successful business, testimonials, results, that's something that I do my research on based off of my failures that I've had in hiring other people.
Sure.
If everything is cohesive, and that's what you need to be that 1%, everything, your reviews, your testimonials, your referrals, you have a successful business, that everything that you can look up, it's all good to go. I'm investing in you. And I think that's more powerful than an hour presentation, a 7-hour presentation, because you're going into that mindset that this person's already in line, and I've done my research in line with what I want. I'm going to go hear this person out. I have no more thoughts that are running into my mind.
Right.
This person is who I want to choose as my speaker, as my coach, as my blank. Do your research, make sure that they're complete package. And if you've been fooled before, learn from your failures.
I think that sometimes it's not even that people are wearing a mask. I agree. I mean, sometimes, yeah, things are too good to be true and people are wearing a mask, or, for instance, I know there's some people out there, like some coaches out there, like, are wildly famous. One of them, she's become really well known over the past few years. And I honestly don't think she's that good. I think that she got a lot of press, which she did, because her husband ran a very successful PR firm, multiple ones. She got a ton of press and just blew up everywhere. And people kind of have that mentality of, if you're all over, you must be important. Let me bring you in. Even if the message isn't spectacular, doesn't matter. Everyone already wants you. I want you too. And so there is a little bit of that wow factor, right? And I look at things like that and I say, okay, so if that's the case, right, are these people wearing masks? How do they get what they're getting, or how do they give what they're giving? Like, if I use the example of my, the speaking coach that I started with, for instance, right? He's a top 10 legend. The thing is that I don't know if he was necessarily qualified to teach, but he was great at what he did. And I like to use a more simple example for some people, where you're in the gym, you have this guy, massive guy, like ripped, veins, shredded, every muscle group you could see well defined. The guy knows what he's doing. He's competed. He's a professional. He's won the gold. He's been competing, trying to make Mr. Olympia, whatever the case is. Now you go to ask this guy to work out. You go, hey, you look great. Your body's amazing. Can you teach me? And he'll take you on because he wants a paying client, but he's going to be a crappy trainer. Why? Just because he knows how to do it for himself. He knows how to feel what muscle he knows how to feel. He knows how to contract the way he needs to contract. He knows the proper angles. He knows what works for the proportions of his body. He knows the right things for his diet. Doesn't mean he's qualified to teach you. It doesn't mean he knows how to see if you're working the right angle. It doesn't mean he knows how to communicate properly, where he's going to ask, hey, you're doing the workout. Are you feeling it? And you're going to say you're feeling it, but you're feeling it in the wrong muscle. And he doesn't know how to point it out on you, but he could point out if he felt it and used the wrong muscle, right? So I think when we look at some people, it's not to say that they're faking or they're taking advantage of us. And I know that's not what you were implying. I just see it as sometimes we feel that way because it's like, but you're so great. How come your product is so not? And I think that it works for them because they know the intricacies of themselves, but it's a whole nother level to be a teacher. Like, you can do it for you and suck at teaching, and vice versa. You might suck at doing it for you, but you could teach pretty well because maybe you've read all the books.
Those are two different categories. Those who do, those who don't teach. I'm not saying that in a negative way, but
yeah,
my wife's a second grade school teacher. So please don't kill me when you're watching this podcast, because she can do and teach. But I 100% agree with you. Yeah.
But, and even to that point, I do feel that there are some people that if you can't do, you should not teach. I don't believe, like, for instance, in personal development, I don't believe that saying is true for personal development. If you don't know how to do the inner work, you better not teach it to other people, because here's the reason. This is my opinion, but I also believe this is factual. If somebody's hitting something that you have yet to figure out how to resolve, how are you going to help them? How are you going to help them resolve something you can't figure out how to resolve? If they say, hey, I'm stuck, and guess what? They're stuck at the same point as you. What do? Do you just be like, that's funny, I'm stuck there too? Okay, so now what? The work with you is obviously over, because how's this person going to get more value if you can't even get over the hump? Now, I think there's differences. For instance, if you are, again, let's go back to working out. If you're a personal trainer and maybe you had an injury or something that stopped you from lifting in a certain way, or, achieving the body you wanted, but you have so much amazing knowledge to share, I believe you could still be a trainer. I don't believe, if you're still struggling to work through your own crap, that you're going to teach other people. Like, you look at these speakers on stage, or all these amazing people, they're not sitting there and they're like, I have crippling depression, I always struggle with it, I could barely get out of bed, but that's my message. I'd be like, what?
I 100% agree. I want to bring back something that you were talking about in regard to, this person who's ran a successful PR campaign and has become successful, but she's not the best coach. And I think
that's my personal opinion. I could be wrong. Maybe she's phenomenal.
Well, and that's what I want to kind of talk about here is, in today's society, in the world that we live in, where it's very technology based and focused, you have these influencers, these people who have made the name for themselves. It doesn't matter in what category, but they've made a name for themselves because they have followers. Now, these influencers get reached out to on a daily basis to promote brands and products that they know nothing about. They weren't there with the company, but people know that if I talk to this person who has 1 million followers, people are going to listen because she's built a name for herself. That's not what we try to focus on. That's quantity. That's the mass numbers. That's pushing out products, right? And so I personally believe that will eventually fade away. Maybe not to the mass public, but to the 1%ers, to the quality type of people. That will never be intriguing, because people do their research. They find out the quality of the message that this person is saying, and based on the background of their business, this is what I want. It's the same thing. People are impulsive for small little items and things like that. But when you're hiring somebody like a therapist, a business coach, a marketer, a virtual assistant company, something that's going to be with you long term, you need quality. Right. So quality will always be quantity.
I agree. And I think that the people that don't understand that probably aren't the ideal people we want to be talking to anyway, right? Because if you're wowed by someone's message because they have 1 million followers, not because of the fact that their message is actually good, then clearly you're somebody who's just following the crowd. You're somebody who's just completely in the mood of, well, that person has value because other people think they have value. 100%. And I think a part of being that 1% and understanding quality is determining it for yourself. And again, she might be amazing. She might be phenomenal. I've never been impressed by things that I've heard, like just in this specific reference. I've even seen her speak, and there are times where she's just like, like the thing is, to me, that takes away from your message terribly. So if you speak like that, you got all these followers, it just doesn't add up to me. And I get super confused, because how do you deliver a good message when you can't even articulate it yourself? And that's where I look at things, and it's like, well, what are we dealing with here? Is it quality? Is it quantity? Maybe there is a mix of both, and I just haven't seen it. But at the end of the day, everyone's got their tastes. Everyone is going to find someone out there. Everyone may not resonate with my message. Some people might hear what I just said and think, well, this guy's a judgmental dick, I don't even want to talk to him. That's fine. You could think that. And maybe you'd be better suited for a different coach who you don't think is a dick or judgmental. And that's also the beauty of why being competitive is so important. because there are 10,000 other coaches. You don't need me to coach you. You would only need me to coach you if you think I bring quality, you think there's value, you like the way I am as a person, you like the things I say, etc. If you don't, go choose any of the other 9,999, because that's why there's so much opportunity. So if you're listening to this, the real question you want to ask yourself is, what am I looking for? How do I want to show up? Do I want to provide quality or quantity? And if I do, how am I going to set myself apart? If I really want to go for quality, how do I go and provide a service that emulates that? To your point, Shane, even bringing up the VA group, I know you guys charge more. I mean, I experience it. I'm a client. I love what you guys do. But again, there's so much quality in there. I wouldn't think of paying less. And I wouldn't want to sacrifice anything you guys do, because it's just, there's so much value in it. Right. And so when you're doing this and you're charging more, you're not scared about your competitors, because you're so secure in the quality you bring that, you know, when you get a client, they're going to stay because you provide the most value. Those guys that might be double your size because they charge $5 an hour, I guarantee, and you probably know it too, their churn rate has to be 40, 50%, maybe higher. You're at 2%, man.
Right.
There's the world speaks. The world speaks volumes about how they respond to what you put out in it. So for anyone who's listening, you have to determine, what do you want to put out in it? How do you want to set yourself aside? What do you want to be known for and as? And what is the way you want to personally show up?
And something quick and easy. It all starts with this. It's your mind. It's your mindset. It's how you carry yourself. It's how you portray. It's how you portray things. It all starts with how you wake up in the morning and you look at yourself in the mirror, and that's the very first step. And there's no late time. You know, if you wanted to start this and you wanted to change your mindset to do better and be the 1%, then do it. And if you need help along the way, there are tools to get that, whether it's a business coach or doing your own research or watching, the 1% podcast. There's things that can aid your mindset to get to that. Surround yourself with quality, surround yourself with like-minded individuals. And if you do that, everything in life is going to change. As if you were here for the first episode where we were talking about friendships and how Vin completely transitioned my mindset, because I still have, drinking buddies, but that's the extent of it. I still have, things that I do with people like golf for just that reason. But 90% of what I do, I surround myself with people like Vin, with people like that are the 1% that are going to elevate me in my life. And that's what I want. And if you want the same thing, then do it. But no one's going to hold your hand. No one's going to coddle you. You have to want to make the change. You have to want to make the transition. And there's tons of tools and help you to get there if you can't do it yourself.
Shane freaking, right as we were about to kind of wrap this up, Shane jumped into my realm of mindset. Now I have something else to say.
I love
it. One thing that I've held very true, and I believe you can learn a lot from the past, and not from like your past, but from the past of the world, from the past of other people. And there's a really cool chain, interestingly enough, that follows. I've been a big follower of Tony Robbins' messaging. Honestly, the whole reason I quit being a traditional psychotherapist was because of Tony Robbins. Hand to God. Like, my dad's a psychotherapist. I wanted to be exactly like my dad because I admire him so much and I think he's amazing. And I still do. It's not like that changed because I heard of Tony Robbins. But Tony opened my eyes to a way of thinking, a way of serving, a way of showing up powerfully that's different than what I previously thought, which was just go to school, get your psychotherapy license, advance your license, open a private practice, do that for 60 years, take insurance, done. Tony Robbins showed me what else is possible. And then I got really curious and I said, if Tony's so smart and so wise and so powerful when it comes to people, who the hell did he learn from? What's that guy like? And then I learned that it's Jim Rohn. I started listening to Jim Rohn and I started listening to his messages and watching his videos. And the best thing I've ever heard that has always stuck with me to this day, and I now teach to every single client, is this phrase I heard from him, and he said, "Do you know when the best time to start is?" And everybody was like screaming out. They're like, before you're ready, or right now, or blah blah blah. And he's like just listening, and he smiles. He says, "When you're finished." Everybody's confused now. Everybody's like, what does that mean? And he goes, "The best time to start is when you're finished, because to achieve something, you have to see it in your mind first." And then I went one step further to try and simplify that even more for other people. Right? You want to distill it. So I think of how can I explain this to my kid one day? And so to distill it further, I tell people, you have to think about it like a construction site. A foreman doesn't randomly walk around, look for an empty plot of land and just be like, "Hey, get the guys. I found the plot. Let's just build." What do? They look, they find the perfect plot. Then they determine the dimensions, they measure. Then from the measurements, they build an entire blueprint. They already know what the building is going to look like, every inch, how many rooms, the doorways, the windows, the materials, the amount of hours it'll take, the amount of manpower, the labor costs, how much the raw scrap will be. They know every single detail, and then they break ground. And if you want to transform your life, you have to live it that exact same way. You cannot achieve a life you have not seen yet. You cannot achieve a life that you have not already created, because the brain cannot achieve anything it's never seen. That's why visualization techniques are so powerful. A lot of my clients, when they're thinking about how do I get my ideal body, or how do I get the life I want, or how do I build the business, let's go through and have you see it first. Let's go through and actually make your subconscious believe it's already existing right here, right now. Because visualization will take something that hasn't occurred yet and bring it into your present and lock it into your subconscious, which then allows you to take action based on who you want to become and what you want, instead of who you currently are and what you're struggling with. And so it changes your emotional state from pain or frustration or struggle to ease and contentment. And it makes it that you are so much more capable, because now you're not fighting with your own mind. Now you're actually in sync with it. Now you are aligned to who you want to be, because you've already built it. So my advice to somebody that might be struggling and is listening right now is, if you haven't built your blueprint yet, that's why you're stuck. That's why you're struggling to achieve the things you want to achieve, whether it's the better body, the better business, the better girl, doesn't matter. Once you see it, build it, ask how you could be it, do it every day, and it will eventually happen.
And there's some keys in there too. And it's doing it, right?
Yep.
I'm not joking. Like
the Nike brand.
And I think that was our episode, 1 or 2 here. It's great to be a dreamer, but you want to know what's the difference between Vin and I? Watch season 1 or watch episode 1. We do it. We live it. We breathe it. Vin and I have been talking about this podcast and this mastermind for what, 8 weeks?
We started it in the summer. We started talking about it.
Yeah.
I think we initially started talking generally in June. Then we started having like more of make sure we have the weekly calls in July. We were looking to do a launch for August, but that wasn't, it just didn't seem feasible based on what we actually wanted to do and how we would create it. So then we decided to push that back. And then Shane was like, you know what? Let's just do the podcast. Let's set it up and we'll do it Friday. And I'm like, sure. Because Shane's a doer. I'm a dreamer to some degree.
You're both. And you're both, but your humbleness, won't allow you to say it. But I know I know you're both. But that I wanted to get back to, what Jim was talking about is the blueprint. Right? It doesn't matter how long it's taking it. We're doing it right now, right? Outside of the successes that we've had and the businesses that we own, what we're doing right now. And for those of you that are going to be listening to this eventually when we release it, you're going to see a completed website, completed social channels, testimonials, completed, multiple episodes of the podcast that we're going to be doing every single week. Eventually going into masterminds and seeing face-to-face with our entire community. We're building the blueprint. We see the vision, we're implementing it, and we're doing it. It's as easy as that. Do it. Visualize it and do it. Be the 1%.
That's it. I mean, I don't think I have anything to add to that. Nike's actually the biggest brand, funny enough, that I've seen as of recent. I saw a comparison. There were a bunch of brands that were, and it's so funny because I thought it was going to be the luxury brands that were bigger, like Louis Vuitton, worth less than Nike. There was I think it was Coach was worth less than, all these big brands worth less than Nike. But you know what?
Jordans and Kobe's and all that.
Because of what?
Because they got Jordans and Kobe's and LeBron shoes and all of that.
Sure. But I think a part of it is because their slogan is just do it.
It's a great slogan. I mean, it's like the got milk. You don't see great slogans anymore. Yeah. But just do it. Amazing, phenomenal. You'll always remember it. I mean, 100% agree with you. And to be honest, isn't that what all of our 1%ers should be doing?
It.
You know,
guys, just do it.
Nike, if you're listening to this, we're vouching for you here. There's no stealing taglines or catchphrases or anything like that.
Yeah, that's it. They're gonna hit us with one of those cease and desist, and we gotta X episode 3.
Yeah. Well, we might as well end it here.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks so much for listening. This is the 1% Podcast, episode 3, Quality versus Quantity. If you liked it and you loved it, for now, you can reach out, find me on Instagram at VinInfante, or you could check out the website, www.vincentinfante.life. Reach out to me via email, which all the info is honestly on my website, so check that out. You can even email Shane at the VA group, literally Shane at the VA group. That's why I said it like that. If you want any more info, you want to figure out how to become part of the 1% Podcast, or you want some of his amazing VAs or some of my coaching, reach out to either of us for anything. So join us next time. Learn more about us. Learn more about what we're doing. We'd love to have you involved. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.